Hello, audience. What if you came home from work or school and your wife or your mother wasn't home? Would you be worried? After a few hours, you'd try to call. If there was no answer, you'd leave messages. They wouldn't be returned. A few days stretches into a week, into a month, into a year with no answers. That's reality for 27 million people in the world today. It's not an overseas problem. It's a problem that affects us right here in the United States. Virginia ranks number 6 in the nation for human trafficking. The city of Richmond are in the top 20 cities in the nation. My name is Leonard Lane. I've researched several nonprofit websites. I read an article by Rachel Braver titled Human Trafficking in Our Backyard. She is a paralegal at a major law firm in North Carolina where they specialize in helping victims of human trafficking. This evening I'd like to persuade you to learn what the characteristics are that will help you to identify potential victims of human trafficking and learn what you can do to help them. Edmund Burke said the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. We'll begin this evening with a definition of human trafficking. In her article, Human Trafficking in Our Backyard, Rachel Braver defines human trafficking as modern-day slavery and calls it larger than the arms trade. The PolarisProject.org defines it as a form of modern slavery where people profit from the control and exploitation of others. There are two main types of human trafficking. Human trafficking for the sexual exploitation of others, or human trafficking for labor exploitation. Most of the statistics vary greatly among these websites because it's a crime that people don't want to talk very much about. They turn a blind eye to it. They pretend they don't see it. Maybe they don't see it. Rachel Braver points out that it's a hidden crime. The Polaris Project and TraffickingHope.org both agree that there are more than 10 million people trapped in sexual exploitation. Of those 10 million, 80% of those are women. More than 2 million victims are kids. More than 2 million victims are kids. The average age for a child to enter into prostitution in the United States is between 11 and 14 years old. It's estimated that within leaving their home and finding themselves on the streets, within 48 hours, they will be either forced or coerced into sex just to survive. PolarisProject.org estimates there's more than 100,000 to 300,000 kids involved in prostitution in the United States. Another form of sexual or human trafficking is labor exploitation. Labor fields include agricultural fields, hotel or service workers, restaurant workers, or domestic servitude, nannies, housekeepers. In her article, Rachel Braver told a story about a young man who was lured to this country with the promise of good pay and benefits to support his family, to give them a better life. When he got here, what he found was they stripped away his identification papers, locked him in a room with other people just like him, and forced him to work for nothing. There are several characteristics or traits that you can learn to identify to help you identify potential victims. Rachel Braver lists red flags as a lack of identification. They would be involved in sex work. You could also identify them by their body language. They would fail to make eye contact with you. They would seem very, very nervous. You may be able to identify them by where they live. If the place they're staying at has bars on the window or they spray painted the window so that you can't see in them. They may even have a roving guard to keep them from going out on their own. If you see a person that matches any of those descriptions and you attempt to talk to them, if they hurry to get away from you, or if someone else comes up and tells you that they have to have an interpreter, or forbids you from talking to them, that's not normal behavior. When you see that, what do? We'll talk about that now. If you suspect someone can be a potential victim of human trafficking, you have a choice to make. You can get involved, or you can ignore the warning signs. Matthew 19:19, Jesus tells us that we should love our neighbor as ourselves. Proverbs 31:8-9 says that we should defend the weak. This goes unprosecuted largely because people don't want to be involved. They say it's not my business. It's not my concern. But it's easy to make a difference. If you see someone who you feel may be a victim of human trafficking, it's just simply a phone number to call. You dial 1-888-373-7888. That's the National Trafficking Hotline. Tell them that you've seen something that just doesn't look right. You can text info or help to 233-733, which is Be Free on your phone. You don't have to memorize them. All of us have smartphones these days. Program it in. And if you see something, make a difference. There's clearly a need for intervention. Edmund Burke also said, it's not what a lawyer tells me I may do, but what humanity, reason, and justice tell me I ought to do. I'm just asking you to join me in trying to make a difference. Thank you.